Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Seen Beyond and Through with Monty. Right before you is Dovidovic Bakery. And last week, it was at the center of a very, very ugly incident. We had a woman who hurled racial slurs at an employee. It was this woman right here, who authorities are claiming is unidentified. Here she is. But I find it very strange that with social media, they do not know her name. And if you look carefully to the right, the lower right, that's her daughter. This is a white woman with biracial children. And in biracial, I mean half black, half white. But there's something in which I want to get into with this particular issue. Let's read this. Video shows woman shout racial slurs at black New York bakery employee after mask dispute. So apparently what happened was that she went into the establishment without a mask. The employee informed her that she needed to put a mask on in order to be served. And she refused. And with that came these insults. I'll let you hear.
If you don't want to serve her, let you go. If you want to serve her. If not, let you go.
Take her out.
Okay, hello, ma'am. He's not going to serve her, so please leave.
Why? Because he's a bitch ass nigger?
No, excuse me.
Oh, that's what he is.
Hello. No, you need to go.
That's what he is.
Excuse me,
Bitch
ma'am.
ass,
Hello,
F-word.
ma'am. You
I
need
just
to
said
go.
it. You heard it.
Let me call the cop because this lady been very disruptive now.
It doesn't affect
No,
me that you're not going to serve me because you're a bitch.
Are you just calling him a nigger? That's what you just said?
I can call him whatever I want.
Now, you heard the ugly language, an incident involving this woman here. She was using that type of foul language in front of her two biracial children. What type of a mother would use that type of language in front of children? And you really have to wonder, is she even aware of that these children are half black? I mean, this woman is extremely toxic. And the strange thing is that she has biracial children, half black, half white. And this toxic woman, this hateful, racist woman, is married to a black man. And this particular black man spoke up about this incident, and I will let you hear.
Concerned about your children's safety?
I'm concerned about my children's safety 150%. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but my opinion is that if that young lady get proper mental care and be monitored effectively, then perhaps her action won't be like what so negative, that to attack people in a racist manner or whatever the circumstances. Hey, my message to you as my children's mom, atone yourself. You're educated enough to do the right thing. Sit back, think about it. Don't get indoctrinated. Don't make poison enter your system, your mind, and make amends. I'm sending my apology to that young man. That if the racism that Stephanie Denara direct to him, I apologize on behalf of my family. And that man. And
Victor's the name.
What's his name?
Victor.
Victor, and I hope you can forgive in your heart.
To make a correction, I have stated a husband. I'm not sure if they're married, but he is the father of the two children. And it seems to me that while they do share two children, they are not really together. But you have to wonder, does he feel safe with those children in her presence? Obviously, this particular woman who he chose to have children by has issues and difficulty with black people, particularly when she feels when they step out of line. And which brings me to another point. I'm wondering what is wrong with these black people who are choosing to procreate with white racists. This is a Proud Boy member. He got on the internet and showed a picture of his black wife and two biracial children, stating that he cannot possibly be racist. See, white people many times are foolish enough to believe that because they are marrying, dating, procreating with black people or others, that it makes them not racist. And many black people are foolish enough to believe that because a white person is choosing to be with them, to date, marry, procreate with them, that that white person cannot be racist. You have to think that as far as the mating goes, that people tend to forget about the history of slavery, where you had slave masters who believed that slaves were three-fourths human, not even fully human, that somehow they were, because they were white, they were above the slaves. That somehow it kind of excluded them from being racist, but it did not. They still looked at the slaves as being less than human. So I believe that a lot of black people take on this mentality of dating, marrying these white racists in an effort to convert them, in an effort to try to save them or help them. Because when arguments break out, you cannot tell me that the first slur that comes out of their mouths is not the N-word. I believe that black people foolishly take on this type of heal the notion mentality or heal the nation mentality, that somehow they're going to help heal these racist mindsets and make them kinder, gentler people. People tend to forget what you get in the beginning is what you're going to get in a relationship. That you cannot change anyone. It's up to them to change. They have to put in the work and effort. And if someone is racist, I'm going to question, why would you put it upon yourself, the burden upon you to want to change someone? Why is that so important to you? That reeks to me of an insecurity. That somehow you're thinking that this person is in some way superior. It's not your job or duty to reform a racist. It's not your job and duty to help them to feel better about themselves, or because they are reproducing biracial children, it's in some type of a way healing them. What you have to look at is that this mentality that these people are having, that you're passing this type of toxic energy onto your children. Well, we use the term of trauma, generational trauma, and we tend to think that it cannot come from white people. We tend to make the mistake of thinking that generational trauma is a black thing. A racist mentality, mindset that is generational, that has been passed on, that has not been dealt with, that negative energy is now passed on to your biracial children. That is generational trauma. No, generational trauma is not just a black thing. The Caucasian race has probably more generational trauma and curses with themselves than any other group of people alive. Many of these men who marry these white women and reproduce with them, or who just, they may not even be married but choose to reproduce with them. A lot of that is from self-hate. The notion of wanting biracial children, half black, half white. They've been brainwashed into thinking that somehow they can produce so-called pretty kids with the loose curls, lighter skin, different type of features. I wouldn't say better, but a lot of that is based upon that, because you see a lot of black men with white racist women. So this sickness from black people, it just seems like it's growing in this day and age. It just seems like people are buying to the mentality of that their options are so limited that they are willing to lay down and reproduce with racist. And I believe that their options are a lot more than that if people just wouldn't be in such a hurry. But it's just amazing to me as to what people will settle for. Even after knowing the person is racist, in many cases, they won't separate. In many cases, they would still continue on with that particular racist, which tells you a lot about their mindset. And that mindset being a white racist is not a deal breaker for them. And that was another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. And I will see you all beyond and through.